Hello and welcome back to another Reaconteur video, and in today's video I will be going over Type Soul's biggest problem. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe, since only about 20% of the people watching this video right now are actually subscribed. Also, I'm currently streaming Type Soul on Twitch, so if you want to see me stomp bad players in ranked, then drop in. But the biggest problem with Type Soul is you. Not you specifically, as in the people watching this video, but the Type Soul community is the main problem with the game. Look at Type Soul General. Everyone is always begging for codes, or buffs, or nerfs for things that they have no perspective or right to comment on the strength of, because they either use it and are biased, lose to it because they're bad or have bad computers and are biased, or they're begging for codes because they don't have every legendary and mythical in the game, when things are supposed to be special and rare. Like, half the time, it's kids asking for buffs for things they use or nerfs for things that they fight, when their internet isn't even good enough for them to have any perspective of how strong things that they're fighting actually are. So if you have bad internet, maybe you should just get better internet, or alternatively, check out Gear Up Booster. Gear Up Booster is a patching software that can improve your performance in Type Soul and Roblox as a whole, especially when you're fighting people. If you struggle with lag or ping spikes, Gear Up Booster can help stabilize those connection issues, making it easier for you to play the game more efficiently. Gear Up Booster is also extremely easy to use. One button press and now you're playing Roblox with lower ping than ever before if you're used to slower internet. Download Gear Up Booster today through the link in the description and comment section down below, and Gear Up Booster can help you improve your performance by quite a bit. Now let's get into the video. Anyway, the Type Soul community is probably one of the worst I've ever dealt with in terms of online communities in my entire life, which is saying something because I played Deepwoken for a long time, and I still sometimes do, and I'm still part of that community. And if you think that place is bad, like, Type Soul, I think is worse than the old Rogue Lineage community. And it's so bad because at least Rogue Lineage players weren't as entitled. Like, a majority of the Type Soul players in the Discord are not only bad at the game, but they also feel entitled to everything. And when you lack the talent, ability, and perspective to know what you're talking about, but feel entitled, it leads to people spamming, begging for nerfs for things that aren't that, bad to fight against, buffs for things that are actually good or decent, and codes so they can get everything they want, even though there are many viable options for partials and shikais that aren't legendary or mythical. Like, you are not special. Rarities exist for a reason, and not everyone is supposed to have the best thing in the game. You are not Ichigo Kurosaki, you aren't special. And even then, Ichigo Kurosaki only has a rare Shikai. So what are you guys complaining about? Ichigo would beat your ass with a rare Shikai, but then you have Benihime, and you're gonna complain that it's weak now? Like, yeah, they did go a bit overboard on the nerfs, but the entire point of kit rarities is to put build diversity into the game, and it's to make the best of what you have. Everyone shouldn't have true variants, Vizard, Vastakar, Bankai, and Segunda. The entire point of these systems is to reward people who actually work for them. But they made them all so easy and common that nothing is worth anything except cosmetics like custom clothing tokens, which you guys use to cosplay as femboys and wear thigh highs and stockings anyway. And for those of you who think, well, it's unfair if some people have the best stuff in the game and others don't. Well, yeah, that's the point. Also, I'm literally proof that many of the best things in the games aren't needed. I don't use skill boxes or essences, my build is a year old, outdated, and far out of the meta, and the best part of my build is the Stark Resurrection that I spawned with over a year ago, and that's the only part of my build that you could consider optimal. And I still have a 6.2 win-loss in ranked, because I had the skill required to use my build and play the game efficiently. And another reason I know Type Soul players are dumb is because lots of them will call me Hakata build carried. First of all, how am I build carried? I use a year-old build that's out of the meta without skill boxes or essences that I'm good with. If you're calling me build carried because I can only really play efficiently with this build, well, yeah, I've practiced this build for a year. So, yeah, I'm good with it even though it's not the best build in the game. You couldn't find the same success as me with my build because it's not a build that will carry you. I am carried by my skill with this build, not by the build itself. And on top of that, people will call me a Hakata spammer when I'm clearly using a speed build. My build is 15 Hakata for Grimjow Claws and Grand Entrance. I use one Hakata move and the weapon, and that's literally it. And then I have 50 speed, and that's where the rest of my skills are. Which, this is just kind of proof that Type Soul players don't care what you're using. If you're using anything slightly against what they like to fight against and win against, they will just call out the first thing they don't like about your build. So people will lose to me and call me a Stark spammer, or a Hakuda spammer, or a Speed spammer, which, funnily enough, I was streaming the other day. For those of you who were there, I'm actually streaming today as well, so you can come drop in right after you're done with this video. Someone called me an auto-targeted move spammer, and he was complaining that I was spamming Blooming Cut. Which, what? You're gonna complain about me spamming Blooming Cut? You are genuinely insane, because spamming Blooming Cut has got to be one of the craziest things I've heard in my entire life. And someone called me a combo spammer, because apparently him being caught in my combo, which, by the way, none of the combos with my build are true, because he's just too dumb to parry or dash out, somehow I'm the spammer here? Maybe if you knew how to play the game, you wouldn't be losing. And it's funny, because I was talking about how Benihime after the nerfs isn't as bad as people think it is in the Discord, and immediately someone who doesn't even know me, clearly, called me a probably Hakuda Shunko build carry loser, which is insane because he basically saw me calling Benihime not so bad and immediately assumed I played a build which I'm assuming he commonly loses to, and then resorted to trying to insult me by calling me carried by a build for a race and a build that I don't even use. He's just like saying things that he doesn't like and taking out that anger on me because he's bad at the game and can't fight Shunko users. And I know Type Soul has a lot of kids in its community, but can the mods actually do their jobs? I've never seen a mod actually in chat. Like, bro, please mute the people spamming when I'm trying to have a conversation about literally anything, and I see in like all caps highlighted text, codes when Benihime buff Benihime. Like, bro, shut up. You cannot talk in the Type Soul Discord because everyone's just spamming, begging for things that won't matter. Because no matter what gets reworked or balanced or rebalanced, they're all going to be too bad at the game for it to matter. So once they're done crying about a build they don't like and it gets nerfed, they're going to go on to complain about the next build they don't like and beg for nerfs for that build. Or alternatively, they'll copy it and become metamancers, joining the dark side, and instead of begging for nerfs, they'll beg for buffs for the meta build that they lose with simply because they're not good at the game. Easy solution for this. If your win-loss in Type Soul ranked is under 3, you can't talk in the Discord. Obviously, I'm joking. I have to state that because then somebody's gonna get mad and say, oh, that's unreasonable, but I am joking. But actually, so many people who shouldn't be talking about game balance will complain about things without having any sort of perspective on what actually needs balancing and what actually determines game balance for a fighting game like this. From a game balance perspective, realistically, the only things in Type Soul that need reworks are counters, for the fact that they remove skill from evasive mechanics, and realistically, counters shouldn't exist in 3D fighting games at all, which is why 3D fighting games commonly don't have counters. And if they do, there's usually ways to get out of counters. A good example of this is Deep Woken Venting, which allows you to get out of the contractor counter that strings you up. I forgot what that move is called. But it's a counter that you can escape, because counters shouldn't exist in games, which is why Deep Woken does this really well, where there's one counter in the game and you can get out of it, although you're punishing yourself just a little bit by losing your venting. And the other thing in the game that could be like called out for needing a rework is Strike, which Strike itself isn't that bad, but the fact that it's a move that punishes you in a neutral scenario for being out of range against someone is just poor game design. And before anyone defends Strike in the comments, if you don't know proper fighting game design, don't comment, because a lot of people will talk about what they think is balance without any sort of idea for how fighting games are supposed to be designed in order to be fair and fun equally. Basically, nothing should punish you without you making a mistake, which, you know, if you don't make a mistake, you shouldn't be punished, obviously. Nothing should punish you for playing neutrally, which Strike does. It punishes you in the neutral for doing nothing and doing nothing wrong. And nothing should punish you while you're in the middle of a combo or attack unless it has hyper armor and is made for escapes. Waterfall Dance should be sometimes usable in combos to escape. Counters shouldn't. Counters do that. And so do many other attacks which shouldn't, like dagger M1s, which is kind of stupid because I've seen dagger users spam M1s to escape Hakuda combos, which is kind of crazy. This isn't a balancing video, okay? It's just like, a lot of this stuff is things that people will complain about even though they don't know what they're talking about. Like, bro, the new devs are working. They're working pretty hard. I mean, they keep releasing updates last minute, but they're getting them out technically on time. But the devs aren't really, like, doing anything bad. You guys complained that it was too strong, so they made it too weak now. And, like, Benihime is going to be in a fine spot once it's all said and done, right? Obviously, it's going to be fine. The devs are gonna buff it. You guys don't need to spam the chat saying, buff Benihime, nerf Hakuda, because they're working on it. And you guys keep begging for things that are coming. It is useless. You guys are useless, so you need to stop. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really hate the Type Soul community. I've never wanted to, like, if you could like get a room of like the top 100 dumbest people in the entire world, at least half of them would probably be Type Soul players. Like, I really hate Type Soul players. And a good example of like something that actually needed nerfing was like Suzumibachi mode, right? Because yeah, modes are supposed to be OP, so I don't think they should generally be nerfed. But the problem with Suzumibachi when it was in its Bankai is that Suzumibachi Bankai dragged out a fight that wasn't fun. Like, yeah, Lightning and Flower Bankai, fighting those aren't fun because you're about to, like, take all your health and damage, but at least it'll only last, like, 15-20 seconds before you're dead unless you pop your mode and then it's equal again. But Suzumibachi kind of just, like, dragged out this fight into 30 seconds where you're all ragdolled and you can't do anything, but they're not doing enough damage to outright kill you, which is why Suzumibachi Bankai got nerfed. And it needed that nerf because that just wasn't fun to play against, wasn't, like, it was just anti-fun mechanics. And the game is supposed to be fun, that's the entire point, it's a game. And a lot of you will put your own fun before the entire community's fun, which is like, no, the point of balancing is to make it equally fun for everyone, which a lot of you clearly don't see. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm streaming on Twitch, so come check me out. I love you all. Goodbye, and have a great day.